we go. Okay, so we're going to talk about Secret Invasion first. In particular, I want to talk about a news story that was going around about this show, specifically about the intro and how it is AI generated. Here you can see some of the screenshots. Everyone likes to use this one because it's very clearly an AI generated image of Sam Jackson looking half alien. A lot of people are saying this is going to be, you know, the future of stealing people's jobs. Art should listen to Low Tier God. Yeah, I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. I actually didn't realize it was AI generated when it was first going, but that's also because I was watching it at like midnight, and when the opening credits are playing, I'm not paying super close attention to them, so I actually had to go back and rewatch it after this story broke out. But Marvel has actually responded to people complaining about it. Here we are. The Hollywood Reporter says, Secret Invasion opening using AI cost no artists jobs, says studio that made it. Whether they're, you know, being fully truthful or not, I actually think they're probably being mostly truthful. Having rewatched the intro, what it looks like they did, and from reading this article, what it sounds like they did was everything was still like 2D drawn or 3D modeled, and then run through kind of like a final filter pass to give it that AI generated look. Because having seen videos that are fully generated in AI, they don't tend to have the kind of coherency between frames that this intro does have. So it's more like using a filter than just having the computer generate the thing for you. You can tell actually looking at it and not just looking at still images of it, but actually seeing it in motion. You can tell that there's like actual like 3D models being moved through, just with kind of like a shifting texture on them. That because it was like run through an AI filter pass, basically. I can understand what they were going for here, because the idea is like people are being replaced and you're not sure like what's going on and what's true. And you know, the scrolls, their faces can shift because they're shapeshifters, and so you get a lot of that face shifting going on between the frames in here. So I can understand what they were going for. I can also understand people not liking it. I'm not really sold on it. Obviously, AI art being used as a replacement for actual art is bad, but I don't think that's what's being done here. That doesn't mean that it's not something that Disney won't do in the future. I absolutely believe that there will come a point where AI art is generating like consistent enough results that they can just fire people and rely more heavily on the AI, just with like an art director. But when I first heard that the AI that the intro was AI generated, my thought was, well, didn't like a court rule that AI art can't be copyrighted because the most that you can say is that the person who was running the program could be considered an art director, and art directors don't get like copyright claims over the work? And so my thought was, a braver person than me might just go ahead and take that intro and just use it for their own stuff. But no, I think there is enough evidence, if you actually watch the trailer itself, that this wasn't just AI generated. This was an actual work that artists put their own stuff into, and then they just did like a final AI pass filter. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the show itself. Now, this show is billed as a Sam Jackson, Nick Fury vehicle, but I think that's probably the first deception of the show, because what it actually is about is this guy, Talos. He was the quote-unquote villain from Captain Marvel, but then it was revealed that, no, the Skrulls actually aren't bad. They can, you know, shapeshift, and so people might be afraid of them, but actually, they just kind of want to live their lives, and they're just being persecuted for it. The premise is that the Skrulls have basically, they had entrusted Nick Fury and Carol Danvers to help them find a new planet while they're refugees on Earth, but it's been like 30 years since Captain Marvel, and that still hasn't happened. So there's a group of Skrulls who are basically seeking to agitate world powers using like terrorist attacks and false flag operations to try and get the human countries to go to war with each other. And once humans destroy each other, then the Skrulls will have the planet. And we also find out that the Skrulls are immune to radiation, which means that they could, in fact, nuke the planet and the Skrulls would not be harmed by the radioactive fallout. Now, that's not explicitly said, but like the Skrull facility where like where the terrorist cell is hiding out is an abandoned nuclear power plant in Russia. So that's definitely something that they could build on more as the show goes on. I think that's probably going to be one of the big things, especially because it looks like they're trying to get America and Russia to go to war, which that could definitely lead to a nuclear annihilation. But I've been spending a lot of time looking at Talos' face here, but you really don't see that. In fact, he looks like this for the most part. For one, probably because it's cheaper, but also the Skrulls have been living among humanity for 30 years, and if you want to not get noticed, you probably are used to just staying in human form. And honestly, that doesn't bug me because Ben Mendelsohn is a great actor, and not hiding his face behind all that makeup really lets him show his chops. And like I said, I think this is his show. It's kind of like gonna be like a buddy cop thing with Fury and Talos, and I think Talos is like the heart of it because his daughter, who is played by Olivia Clark, that's his daughter. She is part of the terrorist cell. So there is, a big hook there, emotional hook. Now, as for Fury, they're doing a lot of like tell and not show with him. There's like at 3 points in this episode, somebody's like, oh, Thanos' snap changed him. He came back from the blip different. And like 3 different people basically say that about him or say it to his face. And I'm like, you could do that a different way. There's something called showing where you like actually, I don't know, have him like look at footage of, the Avengers bringing everyone back and just kind of, I don't know, show him up on the space station that he's been hiding out in for the last year, building up, looking depressed or something like that. But instead, no, he just shows up on Earth once they've called him down because of the growing Skrull terrorist cell. And then everyone just says, oh, you've changed. But you don't actually see it. He still kind of feels like the same guy. He doesn't have like the big shield organization behind him anymore. He's a little bit more clandestine, kind of like how we saw him in Spider-Man Far From Home. Of course, with the post-credit scene, we found out that wasn't even him. That was Talos. But I don't think they knew that when they were writing the script for Spider-Man Far From Home. I think that was thrown in post. So even though it wasn't him, that's basically still what he is doing here. The villain, the main guy here, his name is Gravic, who I gather is a Super Skrull in the comics. Super Skrulls are like Skrulls, but super. I really don't know much about it. I know that in the comics, Secret Invasion was like more about a lot of superheroes were being replaced, but the only like superhero that's in the show that we know about is War Machine, Rhodey. He shows up for like about 30 seconds in this episode. He's at the White House and like the president tells him, oh, you got to go find Agents Fury and Hill because they're, they're doing stuff in Russia. It's no good. So we'll see what happens there. And I suspect it's probably not even Rhodey. I suspect he probably is a Skrull. But that kind of brings me to another issue that I have here. And again, this is early in the show. I think there's 6 episodes, so we've got 5 more to go. But for a lot of this, it feels like you always know when there's a Skrull. Like they make it painfully obvious when somebody's a Skrull. Like we see a character from another movie show up like in the intro to it, and it's like he shows up to talk to like a Pepe Sylvia style like conspiracy theorist guy who's like figuring out that the Skrulls are behind a bunch of terrorist attacks. But then we find out that character from another movie franchise is actually a Skrull, but like you could figure that out immediately. You're just like, this guy is telling the entire plan and has like the only piece of evidence, and he hands it to this one guy, and this one guy's like, yeah, I'll get it to Fury, and I'm like, yeah, you're a Skrull. There's really no point here where you see someone and you're not sure they're a Skrull. There doesn't seem to be enough paranoia built into the show yet for the concept of a terrorist cell of people who can look like anyone. Bean is a Skrull. I mean, well, he's not around right now, so he can't speak for himself. I'll have to ask him later if it is even him. So Maria Hill is in this show, and I wanted to talk something specifically about her, about Kobe Smulders, and this was kind of like the best photo that I could find. It's kind of low res. I had to make it bigger. It's a lot more evidence like in video, but there's one thing that I like about her is that even though Colby Smulders is like a very beautiful woman, she's like 41, and they let her look 41. You know, you would expect oftentimes for them to just, you know, cake the actress in makeup so that they still look, you know, as glam as they were in their 20s. But she's not like a glamorous kind of a character. She's a hardened, you know, ex-SHIELD agent, government agent. She's not out there, you know, to have like heavy makeup on. You can see the wrinkles in her face. You can see kind of the age. She has like really sunken eyes for a lot of it. I'm not saying any of this to be like, oh, she's ugly. Like, no, I appreciate that they let her look her age, even though she's still incredibly attractive. I like that they don't put excess makeup on her in that regard. They also, that was kind of my thought on her makeup in Spider-Man Far From Home as well, that they let Kobe Smulders look her age. Now, back to Talos, there's one issue that I've got with him in this show, and it's not really with him, it's with the writing. So he has a wife, right? We saw her in Captain Marvel back then, but as the show starts, like, she has just died, and it looks like she was probably killed, like, in a tussle with the Skrull faction, the terrorist faction. And it kind of, it makes me think that, like, she was just kind of fridged to give Talos some motivation. And if you don't know what fridging is, it's a term for when a female character is killed off solely to give a male character motivation. I think the specific term fridging comes from a Green Lantern comic where that current Green Lantern's girlfriend was literally stuffed into a fridge. And there is another character in this show, mild spoilers, I'm not going to say who it is, and also because of the nature of Secret Invasion where somebody could be a Skrull the entire time and you don't know, it's possible that that's not the case, but it looks like an established MCU character is brought back in this show specifically to be fridged for Nick Fury's motivation. I'm hoping that's not what it is. I'm hoping they're just pulling a fast one over on us and that character is not dead. But if they did kill off that character in the way that they did, I am very disappointed with their decision to do that. And that's about all I can say without spoiling the ending of the first episode too much. Overall, I feel like this show doesn't quite hit for me yet. Oh, there was one other character I wanted to briefly discuss. Olivia Coleman, who is a fantastic Academy Award-winning actress. She plays an MI6 agent who is like kind of like a Deutero antagonist. She's also investigating the Skrull Splinter Cell, but like they're saying how she kind of goes scorched earth with everything. She would probably end up just massacring the Skrulls if she could, is what it sounds like. But we really only see her for like one scene where like Nick Fury lets himself get captured by her agents so that he can like plant a bug in her place to, you know, spy on her and keep tabs on what she's doing, investigating the Skrulls. But both of them are set up in Russia, and I think the whole series is going to be set in Russia, which kind of cool. I grew up there. There's like a scene in Red Square. I've been there, and we'll see what happens with that. Well, we really don't know that much about her yet. Nazis in the government. That wouldn't happen IRL. Yeah, well, no, she's not a Nazi, I wouldn't say, but she's just an amoral agent, I would say. But like I said, I don't know that much about her. She could be a Skrull for all I know. Who knows? I did say that it seems fairly obvious who's a Skrull at this point, like that we've seen. But again, maybe that's the point. Maybe they are like doing that whole thing where like, oh well, that's obviously a Skrull, so that you don't look at the character who's less obviously a Skrull. We'll see what happens. So Ness's Best asks, rate the episode out of 10, and should I watch it or should I just continue watching One Piece? Okay, so out of 10, I would say this episode is probably a 6. Should you watch it? I would say wait a couple weeks to see what people's impressions on it as it goes. Like, it's not going anywhere. You're not going to be, I mean, you might need to like keep your head down to avoid spoilers as it goes, but I would say wait a couple weeks. Now, should you continue watching One Piece? Well, that entirely depends on whether you're going to be watching the Netflix live action One Piece, because that I can tell you looks awful. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm trying to get my channel monetized, so your view means a lot. Don't forget to toss me a like and subscribe and ring the bell. I stream these reviews every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, so catch me live and join in on the convo. You can find all my socials in the description below, and a special shout out to my patron pfftlecakes. Your support means the world. Catch you next time.